So I didn't realise that today they are actually, or over the next few months I guess, doing some pretty hefty maintenance to the Great Britain. The yard arms here, which are off the masts at the moment, so it's kind of, yeah, it's not all together at the moment, which is a shame, but it's good to see it being worked on. Before you actually go aboard the ship, you enter into the museum, which is adjacent to it, filled with huge amounts of information and artifacts. For example, the lower yard arm here, which is made of iron and weighed tons and tons. Incredible place. Very interestingly, from 1852, the SS Great Britain was actually transporting passengers to Australia. Due to the enormous distance, it was primarily a sailing ship, and they retrofitted the screw, the propeller, with a different design that could be unattached and raised into the hull of the ship to reduce drag when it's just being used for sailing. Quite amazing standing aboard the deck of the SS Great Britain. The funnel here, very reminiscent of what you'd find much later on, over 60 years on the Titanic, which would be like a 3-story building compared to this. Although this is reproduction since the ship has been restored, but incredibly well, and it's just fantastic to see. In the days of ocean-going sailing and steaming, before the days of electricity being utilised aboard ships, it had been very dark, so natural skylights were quite often put in. But this skylight has something really quite amazing on the inside. Down there is the engine. Look at that, incredible, huge great big drive wheel there, those enormous chain linkages. I'm sure we get to go inside and have a proper look at that in a bit. Are you ready to go below deck?
Yeah.
You can see the beautiful wrought iron ribs with the sheets. Iron as well, wrought iron rivets that held it all together. You really see how these were constructed when you get on the inside. Beautiful. Looking at this accommodation, huh?
There's already someone in
Man, yeah.
there. It's pretty cosy though, isn't it?
Yeah.
A bit of a snorer.
They'd have to cram a lot of people in to make it profitable. There wouldn't have been much privacy for sound with all the way everything is just kind of in here. A very, very small, cosy accommodation. Cozy or cramped, take your pick. Goodness me, wow. Down here in the steerage with third class, there's a lot of sound effects of people coughing and sneezing, as a disease aboard ships like this was quite common. If you've ever heard the phrase, "we're all in the same boat," literally comes from that, where disease would spread. and you become what's known as a quarantine ship, which means when you make port, you actually have to stay on board the boat. No one can leave until either the disease has run its course, quarantine essentially, or everyone's dead. This is the galley journey, all the food prepped. They've even kind of replicated the kind of smell. It's a very kind of gamey, earthy smell in here. Not your cup of tea. This is fascinating. Wow. Here's the, even the pot's boiling. This here is the funnel. So we are on the first deck down, which I assume is what they would call A deck. If above me is the boat deck. And this will have actually an outer skin, because the funnels on these steamships used to get so incredibly hot that there'd be a gap, a dead space between the two to try and displace some of the heat. Got food storage in here. Notice how everything either is bound with ropes or has these shelves, because it's hard to imagine what it's like at sea. The entire ship would be rocking from side to side all the time, things getting thrown around. Here we go. I was wrong about being called A deck and everything. Saloon deck at the bottom with the engine room, promenade deck, and then weather deck, being of course where you're exposed to the weather. This is where it's at for me. Holy smokes, look at the size of these engines. Wow. Just imagine what it was like in here with this enormous drive wheel moving around at speed, the ship swaying from side to side as it rolls and pitches in the water. Must have been exhilarating and terrifying. If you're having to synchronize with the engineers on the other side with using these various controls, they've got these speaking tubes here. I'm going to see if they work. Jolie, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello? What I find quite amazing is, so next to the kitchen, so a bakery type thing here, you've got accommodation on the side, but right next to this iron wall, you've got the engine room in here. Makes me think that ships like this that are travelling all over the world, or this one being quite unique for its time, how noisy and uncomfortable it must have been for passengers compared to the ships that came on later on in the Edwardian period, like the ocean liners such as the Mauretania and of course the Titanic, which really took luxury to the absolute limit at the time, whereas this, you kind of just have to put up with what you've got. The right there must be very hot as well. However, we haven't yet seen first class, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. Notice our second class here, as small as those cabins are, they do have sinks, which is something. Have a look at this toilet. They've actually simulated the smell. I'm not actually lying. Oh, it doesn't open. Maybe that's just as well. Really stick. They generally go in there and have a whiff.
I know, I can smell
No, they go in.
I can smell it.
It actually smells. What's in that one?
Gadzooks! This lavatory is occupied. Go away. Push off. Would you mind going away? This lavatory is occupied already. Just...
Here we go. First class.
Could you fit in there? Could you fit out of there?
You probably could.
Is that circles?
What a contrast. It's also noticeably cooler. I think they've tried to simulate some of the heat Is this the Sergeant? I always thought it would be like a big cabin at the back here, a bit like you find on ships like the Victory, but it's not. It's part of this kind of large open space, yeah. Trying to sneak in, look. I'm guessing this is a very expensive accommodation. It's still very small and basic, isn't it? Look at this, barbershop. What's going down here?
There's a little boy who's not well.
I've studied transatlantic travel, vintage transatlantic travel, for many years, since I was a child. And the Titanic is one I have studied extensively. And it's very interesting when you compare modern ships to things like Titanic. But when you compare a ship from the 1840s compared to an ocean liner of 1912, you can really appreciate how things improved and changed. So this is first class accommodation, and it's incredibly basic compared to what you'd find on ships like the Titanic. Things changed within the next kind of 50 to 60 years, a huge amount. This is a lot more spacious. What have you seen? A vet. Ratty. Time for a little bit of dining, perhaps. We are currently aft towards the back of the ship here, and this is certainly the most elegant room, the dining room. It's beautiful. Look at this architecture. Goodness me, I wasn't expecting this, considering what third and second class look like. This is remarkable. Really, really beautiful. Towards the very front of the ship, the hull, mostly unrestored, is a large void of space which originally would have had decks, including large cargo spaces as well. It is partly decorated, but it's very interesting to see the innards of the ship. For example, the lighter parts of metal, the struts running from side to side, are modern steel, helping to support the enormous iron hull. You see down there the construction of the hull, so where you can see the light shining through, that's actually the underside of the ship completely, so obviously it would be leaking very badly if it was trying to float today. One thing I've really been looking forward to at this museum is a nice unique feature which you wouldn't get with a boat which is floating unless you've got diving equipment and permission, is to go underneath the boat itself, the ship. And that is what we are going to do now. Have a look at this. Goodness me. We are looking at the hull of the SS Great Britain, made with wrought iron sheets held together with, of course, wrought iron rivets. There's probably hundreds of thousands of them upon this vessel. Whenever I see ships like this in dry dock, it's wonderful they're, permanently preserved for generations to come and enjoy. But there's always a part of me that thinks, imagine seeing it sailing on the ocean again. If I was stupidly rich, insanely rich, I would fund projects like this to say, let's get it back on the water and sailing around the world, powered by steam, of course. Would you like that, Jolie?
Bring it on.
I don't know if she actually heard what I said. These old wooden beams down here are actually part of the original dry dock. It's saying they're probably put in during the 1830s to strengthen the floor in anticipation of building this ship. This was the largest iron-hulled ship of its day. It's a little bit disconcerting when you see it's kind of propped up like this, just with wooden blocks. But I guess that's how they did it back then. Oh, and yeah. This is remarkable. Look at this. We are at the very front, the bow of the ship. And it's quite a privilege to just be able to come down here and walk around the floors. It's got a sign saying this was built in the 1830s, the actual dry dock itself. And I'm amazed that they actually let you just come down here like this. When I turn around, this bulkhead is holding back the water, as of course when this boat was built, and probably many others in this dry dock, they drain it and then they will slowly flood it until the boat or the ship is floating, and then it can simply sail out from inside. Look at that, it just goes on and on and on. Look at that, what a sight. It always amazes me with ships. You think how big this is, all those rooms at the side, the dining room, that giant engine, and you come to the very front and it's only that wide. Remarkable. Man, look at this. Look at this absolute hulk of a hull. You imagine it's the 1840s. This would have been the most cutting edge piece of technology in the world at the time. One of the things that really amazes me about this ship, and this might be just my ignorance, but the keel, which is the backbone, the very first part of the ship that is laid, is made from oak. To be fair, I'm not sure if there's an iron keel and it's plated with oak on the outside or not, but it does surprise me that, considering the size of this enormous ship, that basically at the very bottom is lying on a backbone made of wood. What's amazing is looking at the shape of the hull, and as it tapers inwards, and you can just imagine the tens of thousands of tons of water whooshing past the hull as it's driven through the water with this enormous propeller, which of course is going to be an absolute highlight for me. Here's the absolutely giant six-bladed propeller which drove the ship through the water when they weren't using the sails. And this enormous rudder here made from iron. Just a remarkable feat of engineering, considering that most of the ships at the time were still being powered entirely by wind and often still sporting a wooden hull. Love it. So earlier I was talking about the keel I was surprised to see that as wood, and it was only wooden from the 1850s, around 1852, when it started carrying immigrants to Australia, and that was when it was primarily being used as a sailing ship as opposed to a steamship. So it was retrofitted to it later. So I guess my confusion was justified. It originally was an iron keel, and then it was plated with wood. And it says on there that it assisted it with its sailing. Well, okay. Finished our day here at the SS Great Britain. It has far exceeded my expectations for a day out. It's been incredible, a wonderful, immersive and informative experience, and even if you're not a nerd like me, anyone would enjoy seeing this beautiful attraction. This ship captures the past so perfectly and really gives you a strong insight into what ocean travel was like nearly 200 years ago.